We have live audience here, and now we have questions from the audience.
Hi there. I'm Seth. I'm from Austin. I'm an atheist. I have a question in regards to separation of church and state in Texas. Recently, there's been the Senate Bill 797, which requires grade schools and educational institutions to display signs that show our nation's motto, "In God We Trust." And it has some requirements on creative liberties that you can take for those signs. Some students have tried to combat this by donating certain signs with said creative freedoms being written in a different language, so in Arabic, or written in LGBTQIA plus representative colors. There's been a court case recently in which these signs were refused under the excuse that the states or the schools had met their quota of these signs and they didn't need any more. How do you feel, or what do you think about this ruling given to combat these? As far as I can tell, there's no limit on the amount of signs.
So I'm gonna have Andrew chime in after I'm done with this, because I have countered this many times, and people keep telling me, Matt, you're just wrong. Matt, you're just wrong. So now that there's a lawyer here, I'm actually looking at the text of the law. It doesn't matter what Representative Hughes or anybody else wrote in a letter to clarify what they meant when they wrote the bill itself. His original intent doesn't matter with respect to what's codified there. But what it specifically says is that, and it's in two parts, a public elementary or secondary school or an institution of higher education as defined by section 61.003 must, not may, must display in a conspicuous place in each building of the school or institution a durable poster or framed copy of the United States national motto, comma, quote, "In God We Trust," period, quote. If the poster or framed copy of message meets the requirements of subsection B and is 1, donated for display by the school or institution, 2, purchased from private donations or made available in the school. That's where it has to come from. But with regard to what it can say, the language, the national motto, in quotes there, "In God We Trust," and I'm hearing somebody's secondary audio here. But a poster of the framed copy of the national motto must contain a representation of the United States flag centered under the national motto and a representation of the state flag. And number 2, may not depict any words, images, or other information other than the representation listed in that subdivision, which, while it doesn't say it has to be in English, it has the U.S. national motto in quotes. And so it can only be those actual words, a U.S. flag and a Texas flag. You can't put a gay pride flag on it. You can't add your stars for your logo. You can't put donated by blah, 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 blah. None of that would be permissible, and neither would putting it in Arabic or Spanish or French or whatever else. What do you think of that assessment, Andrew? Am I wrong?
I don't think it was a court case, or I didn't think there was a court case on this yet.
I haven't seen one yet.
I mean, and I am fairly certain I know what way a Texas state court judge would go. I think they would agree with Matt on this. That said, I am all for challenging this. I mean, look, this is Christian nationalism. And for those of you who don't know the history of In God We Trust, I tell that in my first book, The Founding Myth, Why Christian Nationalism is Un-American. I mean, I think it's really important that we understand the history and that we call this out exactly for what it is. I wrote about this actually for Religion Dispatches. The same guy who proposed this law is one of the primary drivers of SB 8. Right? This is an attempt to impose conservative Christianity on all of us. And this goes back to, well, actually, I mean, I just want to say all of the relics from Christian nationalism date to periods of American history where this country was in times of great strife and division. 1950s, the Civil War. So, and In God We Trust really dates, at least on our coins, to the Civil War. It goes back to 1863. There was this preacher named Mark Watkinson, and he writes a letter to the Secretary of the Treasury, a guy named Salmon Chase, proposing godly language on American coins. He said something like, we need some recognition of Almighty God on our coinage. And Watkinson didn't actually know Chase personally, but he begins his letter, "You're probably a Christian." And I mean, Watkinson himself is a preacher. He wanted to remove the heathen, the goddess liberty, and put on this new motto, which would relieve us of the ignominy of heathenism, was, I believe, how he put it. And so Chase took that suggestion from the preacher and sent it to James Pollock, who ran the Mint. And this guy was as kind of as Christian nationalist as they can come. He actually worked to alter the preamble of the U.S. Constitution from "We the People," etc., to "We the People recognizing the supremacy of Lord Jesus Christ," something along those lines. The whole point was to get Jesus Christ into the preamble of the Constitution. That was what he was shooting for. And they're talking about showing literally that the United States is, quote, a Christian nation. Right? I mean, this is the original form of Christian nationalism. The three men backdoor it, get it onto the coins without the rest of the country knowing, and then Congress is kind of left with this fait accompli, and they have to ratify it. And I don't know how familiar you are with the history, but 1863 is like the middle of the Civil War. The country is literally tearing itself apart. Brothers are killing brothers. Some of the bloodiest battles are fought then. And it was during that time when these three guys thought it propitious to get that money, to get that language on our money. So they took advantage of this time of national fear and crisis to impose their God on everyone. And this is what we have seen throughout American history when it comes to Christian nationalism, because the wave of Christian nationalism that we're facing right now is a new wave, but it's not the first wave. We've seen these previous waves, and each wave leaves behind artifacts, like "In God We Trust," like "One Nation Under God," like the National Day of Prayer, that the next generations of Christian nationalists can point to and say, see, we really are a Christian nation. And they validate their identity, which is based on lies and myths, using those artifacts from the previous waves of Christian nationalism. And if you're curious to learn a little bit more about that sort of cycle of validation, I submitted testimony to the January 6th committee, where I talked pretty extensively about that. And you can find that on my website, andrewlseidel.com, under the publications tab.